Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got a new computer set up, so I figured a good way to test it out would be to try a deck profile in this format. I like doing physical deck profiles just so I can show off the cards, but it's a little bit harder to do with this new setup because the setup is it's a full desktop that takes up pretty much my entire desk space. So a little bit harder to set up if I were to attempt to try it that way. So I figured I'd just try it like this as a good test of my new setup and just what I can do with some new software and screen recording things that I can do. So yeah, I guess let's just get right into it. This is Despia Invoked Shaddoll. I know a lot of people are tired of Invoked Shaddoll, but I really like the Despia archetype, and I want to see essentially the best way that I can play it. I've considered this. You saw my Dogmatica Albaz version of it. I'm going to try out the pure version of it as well, but I do think that these are probably the best engines that you can splash into it. So I'm going to try it out and I'm going to see how it works. You can see everything, but I'll just briefly explain why I'm choosing what I am to play in this deck. 3 Elebear is, that's pretty standard for any Despia package. I can understand why some people dropped 2. I consider dropping it to 2 to make space for some other things, but I just found that you almost need Owlbear at 3 to be able to see your Despia engine. Your Despia engine is not the most important thing, but it's definitely one of the things you want to see in order to facilitate your turn 1 plays to be able to protect some of your other fusions. 2 Dramaturge and 1 Tragedy to accompany that. Dramaturge is one of your best ones that you can get into. Use this fusion material, gets on the field, and it hinders your opponent from using the extra deck because you can negate something. And you'll get you see some choices down here later of hand traps that I've chosen to facilitate that as well, and I'll explain that when I get to it. I considered making space for more than 1 Tragedy because this card is just nuts. You banish it, or it goes to the grave, and you can search any of the rest of these to facilitate some of your other plays. But when splashing multiple engines in here, I just had to make space for some other things. So one is good enough for this. You usually only end up going into 1 in this build. If more than 1 comes up, you have your other 2 engines to help you in the grind game. 2 Theater and 3 Branded Opening to round out the Despia package. I considered more than 2 Theater or even 1 Theater, but you just need to be able to get into it, and that's really all you need for the Despia package anyway. And then Branded Opening is just, this card is nuts for the Despia archetype. And playing this at 3 almost helps more than playing any of the rest of these because this can get you into any of the rest of these that you're missing. It does lock in your fusions, unfortunately, but I mean that's perfectly acceptable considering most of the extra deck down here is fusions anyway. And that's about it for the Despia package. Standard Invoke package: 3 Magical Meltdown, 3 Alistair, 2 Invocation. I don't need to explain any of that. That's standard. The Shaddoll package: 3 Shaddoll Fusion, also pretty standard. The Shaddolls that I chose to go with are 2 Hedgehog, 2 Squamata, 1 Wendy, 1 Beast, and 1 Dragon. Reasons being, some of these ratios may seem strange, but for this deck, they actually synergize really well because the types that these are synergize with the Despia package really well. Hedgehog, Squamata, Beast, and Dragon being darks helps fuse with these into Queritus. And then just their effects are just really good if you can get them off. This adds another one to your hand, so you can get another one of these to facilitate fusion plays later. This sends another one from deck to grave, so you're usually sending either Windy to set Beast, or you're sending Dragon to pop something else. Or you see in the side deck down here, I'm siding Ariel, and you can get that off if you are in a matchup that it comes up against. And in the 1 Schism, just to facilitate more fusions, we play a few Shaddoll fusions, and I'll get to those in a second. Hand traps, only 2 Ash. I had to cut it down for some other cards. And Ash is the one that doesn't really synergize with the deck as much because it's a fire, but Ash is good in any deck against any deck. You know how I feel about that. 3 Veiler. I upped Veiler to 3 because I was originally running Imperms in here. But Monster Effect Negation is good both for the format right now and just for this deck as well, because it synergizes really well with some other choices that I have here. I went with 3 Veiler instead of trying to work Imperms in, because I originally had 1 or 2 Veiler, but I had to make space for some other things, and I'd rather Imperm be in here, but Veiler just synergizes better because it's a light, and it helps you go into Queritus and then some of the other choices down here if it ever comes up. One that I saw in, I believe it was a Cali Effect video, and I questioned this at first, but then I realized that this is actually really funny if you can get this off. 2 Iris Sword Soul. I questioned this at first, but then I realized that you actually have a lot of ways to facilitate this between your effect veilers, imperm if you're running it, but I had to cut that, but it's okay because you have Dramaturge. You naturally get this off in your combo anyway if you get into your Despia plays, and then you're able to negate something summoned from the extra deck, so you actually have a way to facilitate this. Plus, it's a light if you're able to synergize with that if you just need it to fusion. And this card is actually pretty ridiculous when you can resolve it. For those of you that don't know, because I understand if you're not playing this card, something has to have its effects negated on the field for you to summon this from your hand. And then if your opponent special summons from any of these locations, you get this effect. You can special summon another monster, you can Pot of Greed, or you can destroy an extra deck monster, and that alone can just shut other decks down. So this card's not the greatest, but this deck can facilitate it really well. The pure version facilitates it a little bit better, but I'm going to try it in this, see how I like it, and if I don't like it, I'll just cut it. Plus, it's an easy side deck. It's an easy card to side out for the side deck if you don't end up using it. So I'm just going to try it out anyway and see how I like it. For my local, I'm running 2 Cosmic. I wouldn't recommend running this if you're going to other events, but my local, you have to main deck some type of spell and trap removal because of all the crap that happens there. And then just one more card, so I chose Called by the Grave to stop other stuff like Droll, Ash, and other stuff that would hurt me. That's it for the main deck. Onto the extra deck. The only 2 Despia fusions that I run are 2 copies of Quertus. I did consider putting in Proskinian in there at first, but then I just realized you almost never go into this. It's a little bit harder to make because it requires 1 more material. That's not too difficult in this deck, but that's not the issue. The issue is it just almost never comes up, and its effect is harder to get off than Quertus because this is a battle phase effect. You have to destroy something to do the burn damage. The special summon / the banish of another extra deck monster is really, really good as well. But like I said, it's just more resources to commit to this, and it's a lot more situational than Quertus, so I had to cut it to make space for some other stuff. 2 Macabre for your standard invocation plays, and then also I still don't know how to say this name, but this one, it comes up a lot in this. You can destroy a thing, and you play a lot of fusions in here, so you're able to facilitate its other effect. And then Purgatrio to help go for games. That's pretty standard. Shaddoll package, 2 Construct, because it's Shaddoll. You usually end up going through 2 Construct anyway. 1 App Cologne to be able to search out your other cards, and the permanent negate is really handy as well. Plus, it can be difficult to get rid of if your opponent's only able to go into battle. 2 Winda, because I guarantee you're going to be able to go into 2 Winda with the Shaddoll package. Almirage and Artemis to facilitate your invoked plays. Gravity Controller to get Construct or another one of your Shaddolls into the graveyard if you need to do that. And then I did have to put Phoenix in here for 2 reasons. 1, Contact C screws me, so I need a generic link to be able to get that off the field. 2, Imperial Order is always played against me. Either that or we have some Altergeist running around at my local as well, and they always draw into the Secret Village spellcasters. And this deck, as you can see, it's pretty heavily spell-based, so Imperial Order is quite fun to play against, so you need multiple ways to be able to get rid of that, which is why I'm main decking the Phoenix, why I'm main decking the Cosmics to hopefully be able to chain to that, and you just need to see an out to it. So that's why I went with that. The side deck, not really much to explain here. 3 Nibiru for special summon spam. 3 Ghost Bell for either graveyard matchups or something like Tri Brigade to be able to stop the Revolt. I do side deck the Ariel. I wanted to find space in the main for this, but it's a water, so it doesn't really synergize as well. But I mean, against matchups like Drytron, Tri Brigade, if you can banish their stuff before they're able to link into it, this is just nuts. It can win you the game by itself. Pankratops, because it's Pank, also to help with Imperial Order and other things like that, but Pank beatdown is also quite funny. Dark Ruler for when we're going second and our opponent puts up annoying boards like a Drytron Dragoon board. Feather Duster to help with back row matchups. And I did consider going with Lightning Storms, but evenly matched, I just feel is a lot better for the aforementioned reasons of stuff like Imperial Order and Secret Village running around. Plus, it banishes stuff face down, so they can't use it later on anyway. So I just decided to go with that. And that's about all I got for this. I understand this is a cluster of a lot of things, but I'm willing to try it out. I really like this archetype, so I'm just gonna bring this to my local, see how it works out, and then if I need to make any changes or just run a pure variant or another package, I'll see how that goes. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of the day.